Hello Zainey friends, thank you for joining us today. I am Laney and today we are going to talk about the 10 eyeshadow primers that I tested over the past couple months. If you are interested, I do have a mascara one where I talk about short stubby lashes and how to get more volume and length with some mascaras. So I tested a bunch of those. That video I will link for you right up here or down below. But for now we are doing eyeshadow primers. I also have a plan to do concealers and foundations next. So if you're interested in that, comment below and let me know if there's some foundations I need to try. Are there some concealers I need to try? Because concealers is not something that is in my wheelhouse. I do not wear concealer if I don't have to because I cannot find a good one that actually won't crease underneath my eyes. But I might have found one. That's a different video. Let's get into eyeshadow primers. And I'm doing this by myself because I did all the testing myself. I am grading it on how easily you can blend the eyeshadow once you put the primer on. Does your brush stick? Does it make it crease at all? How long does it last? I would check every day at 1 o'clock. Usually I'd put my makeup on around 8 in the morning, and then at 1 o'clock I would check again to see if there was any creasing, if anything had worn off, and I pretty much used the same formula of shadow every time I did this. For the most part. There were some times I didn't. But on the times that I didn't, I would actually use a bunch of different eyeshadows on the same primer. I usually use the primer about, one or two of them a week. So you can see that I had a really good collection of data to work with. So what I have, since I have 10, is the bottom 5 of them I have in order, but the top 5, we'll get to that. So in spot number 10 is the Mary Kay eye primer. I actually got this from my friend who was selling Mary Kay at the time, and I hadn't really had a lot of Mary Kay products. I have to say I was not impressed by this. A lot of people loved this, but what I did not like about this is that the shadow completely creased, like probably a half an hour into me wearing it. And I have hooded eyes, that's why this is so important to me. This is not something where I can just like, you know, I have the regular eyes where there's no friction. I have a ton of friction, and this did not do it. And unfortunately, I can't use this anymore. So and all of these ones that I'm probably not going to use, I'm going to put it either in a little sale or up in my swap group. Number 9 is something that I'm actually very sad about, because before I used to test all these primers, I used to use this almost exclusively, and that's the e.l.f. Smudge Pot. I have it in Ain't That Sweet, and it is a great eyeshadow base, but I do not recommend using it as a primer because, again, it will crease pretty badly and wear off throughout the day. But if you use a primer and then put this on top of it, it actually works a lot better. I'm almost out of this one, maybe. Yeah, I'm almost like on pan on that, so I don't necessarily mind that I'm probably going to be throwing this away because it is pretty old, but you know, it is a good base. If you're looking for just like a non-primer base, this is actually a good alternative for you. Next, I'm using kind of an oldie but a goodie. This is the Maybelline 24-Hour Color Tattoo, and this is in Barely Branded. I used to have a ton of these when they first came out, and I loved them because I really thought they're not going to budge, right? So at the time, they didn't budge. And then I got rid of all of them because they started getting hard pan. You know what I'm talking about, where it's all cracky on the top with these things. And then I had to go out and buy a new one. But I will say this one has gotten cracky too, and it's not even that old. So when I would apply my eyeshadow on top of it, I couldn't blend it. It was horrible. I don't even know what happened. I don't know if some of them have different formulas than others, because I remember there were some that I used to love. So I think these are great if you're looking for just a color you're gonna put on your lid, like maybe with your finger, and that's all you're wearing throughout the day. This is probably your go-to. But if you want to put eyeshadow on top of it, it is not a good primer, and it just doesn't work well with others, unfortunately. Next is one that I kind of did a substitute. Okay, so I used to use the NYX Crayon in Milk, and what was happening was I was putting it on and it was really hard to blend. So I asked around and people said, well, you should just get the NYX Base, and I got it in the same white shade as Milk, basically. So that's what it looks like. And what I found on this one is that it would crease probably a couple hours into my wearing it. And I was like, there's no happy medium. I can use the milk one, it will make my shadows pop, but I can't blend very well. Or I can use this one and it will crease a couple hours in. I don't know. Again, this is probably one that you would probably want to use with a primer first, and then this. This is not good as a primer, so no. Even though people told me to use it as a primer, not so good. The next one is kind of a cult favorite, and I hope I don't get a lot of hate for saying this. I'm just saying this is not what worked for me. This is the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I do like this, but as you can tell, it got number 6 out of 10. So it's not horrible, but it's not the best that I have found either. So I would say this one, you have to do one eye and set it immediately with powder, and then another eye and set it with powder, or else you won't be able to blend very well, at least in hooded eyes like I have. So definitely check out, this one I have is actually the anti-aging one because I had tried other ones and didn't like it. The anti-aging is actually not as bad as the other one. So definitely, if you are looking for a good high-end primer, this might be a good one for you. But like I said, you literally have to set it, like immediately set it, and then continue forward. And that was just what happened to me. Now we're in the top 5. I have to say that in the top 5, some of these were super close, so close that I can't actually rank them from 5 to 2. I do have a favorite for number 1, and you'll see what that is in a minute. So, in no particular order, the ones that are really like, yeah, these are stable, you should try these. No matter what your price point, I got drugstore and I got a high-end option. So the first one is the Maybelline Master Prime, and this one is awesome. You can use it as a base, but you can also use it as a primer. And this one that I have is in the shade, it's in the shade I don't know, but it is this nice beige color. I loved this. This really locked it into place. It has a doe foot applicator, just like that. Very easy to just apply and then take your finger and pat, pat, pat. Great. I didn't have any problems with setting. I didn't need to put anything on top. My eyeshadows actually blended quite well, and they stayed like almost all day. This is a really, really good product, especially for a drugstore. It's not a lot of money. So if you were doing the color tattoo, check this out instead. Next I have, of course, the Holy Grail that everybody loves, but I didn't want to try it for a long time because I don't like, okay, I'll tell you why in a minute. This is the MAC Pink Pot in Painterly. I tend to roll my eyes at products that have like super overhyped stuff, and almost everybody I asked was like, you need to try this. And I'm like, but I don't want to. They're not cruelty free. There are some sketchy things with the company that sometimes I'm a little like, I don't have all the information for, so I'm very reluctant sometimes to buy MAC products, even though they are good and I do own some. So I decided to get this, and it's good, guys, okay? It's good. I liked it that you could just stick that right on there. I did have a slight tugging when I used this product, but not horrible, and it stayed all day long. So, yep, I ate my words on that one. It's good. Next is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus eyeshadow primer. This is probably the one I've been using the most lately. I just reach for it and grab it and stick it on. It is super cheap. It's like $4. If you're looking and you have a budget and you want something good, I definitely recommend this one. The only problem I really had with this, I think, was it's very squeezy, which most of these are, but I sometimes had a little bit of problems making it come out of the tube because it was very thick. You only need a little bit and just pat that on, but again, it lasts all day long and it is great. Then we have the Ulta Beauty Matte Nude Eye Primer, and this is oil-free, fragrance-free, and paraben-free, which I was excited about because I like more natural things. So this one is definitely great. It is also a squeezy tube like the Wet n Wild one. This one, I would say these are pretty close in quality for the most part. I'm always like reluctant about Ulta stuff. It could be hit or miss, like their brand, but this is actually really, really good as well. It had a lot of good reviews on Ulta, stayed in place all day, and I was able to blend very well, so no problems there. So my number 1 favorite eyeshadow primer right now, which probably is no surprise because almost everyone was saying this, is the Milani eyeshadow primer. This again is a squeezy tube, and it is very similar to these other two right here, but the reason why I like this one better is because the blending was a dream. I had absolutely no problem just putting this on, and then like even had to wait a couple minutes and then blending my eyeshadow. There was no tugging. Everything worked exactly how it needed to. This product is the bomb.com. I must be old. Anyway, so this is my number one. So of the 10, if you're looking for a good one, especially if you have hooded eyes like I do, this is the one that you want to try. But of my top 5, any of them will probably work. So I hope you enjoyed this little observation that I made of all these eye primers. If there's other eye primers you think I should maybe check out, especially that because you find that they're similar to my top 3, then go ahead and leave those down below so that I can check those out as well. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay zany.